There we go. Welcome back. Welcome back to another live discussion of Real Talk. Coles, how you been?
Fantastic.
That's good, man. That's good. Anything interesting in your week this week?
Fantastic.
Okay. Anything interesting in the past week?
Nope.
Nothing.
Getting ready for the Bills home opener this Sunday.
Woo! Let's go, Bills. Bills Mafia. New season, new year.
Great.
And this is the year.
And
I know
this
we
is
said
the
it
year.
last year.
We've been saying
and
it
the year
for
before
23
that,
years, 24 years.
and the year before that. But it's something about this year.
Okay.
You know, I can't tell you what that
I'm
is.
about it. I'm about it. Let's go.
I can't tell you what
go
it is.
Bills.
But I can definitely tell you that it's something about this year. Well, we had our back to school book bag giveaway.
Yes.
So that was good. I got to see some of the videos that you posted. It was just great to be out there, loving on our community, seeing those who came out and being able to invest in our community for their education. So it was good. One thing I wanted to say, there was one family who just said that, typically they don't show up in, when other churches do certain things because their words, not mine. They said that they do these things for clout. They're looking for some kind of notoriety. They said, but we've been seeing Steve in this community. We've been paying attention to his character and what he's done, and also his wife as well. And they said from that's why they show up to these type of events, or these type of gatherings. So I think it's very, very good when you have a pastor who has a good name in the community. Because you can do these events and you can do these things and it's still beneficial, but the greater piece is, wanting to have that good name. But, I don't know if this transitions to anything, Pastor, but, it's just good to have a good name sometimes,
The Bible says, better is it to have a good name than choice riches.
Yeah.
Better is a good name than choice riches.
And I think mine say something about rubies and gold or something. I don't know if that's the choice riches, but the one I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's rubies and gold. I mean, it's choice riches, just referring to people pursue rubies and riches and lose the credibility of their own name. Whereas a righteous person, or a wise person at least, will realize the importance of having a good name is outweighs having riches, because, riches don't create morality.
It's a fact.
But a good name gives credibility to morality.
A good name gives credibility to morality. Okay. I hear you. So what are we talking about tonight? It looks like we're talking about
morality.
Morality. Who owns morality?
Who owns morality?
Who's the author of morality? Oh, already out the gate.
Yo, you see that, Chris? This crispy. You see that? Yo, let's go Bills.
Yeah, let's go Bills. Bills
let's
Mafia.
Go Bills, baby.
Bills
you
Mafia.
See it, Chris? You see it?
So anyways,
crispy. Hold on. We're enjoying the crispy.
Okay, you're
fitted.
about to ruin your good day over here. Look, hey, all right, keep talking about me, Chris. Go on now. So in the chat, we have a question already in the chat. Just asking, who owns morality? Or who is the author of morality, and then just why. So as we always discuss here, that we want to make sure that there's an interaction between those who are watching and us. So please feel free to leave your comments or any questions that you may have on this specific topic so that we can keep building further in this dialogue. Make sure to like this video and share this video so we can get the algorithm going. All right, Pastor.
Yes, sir.
Co-host.
He loves saying that.
Yeah. What's the matter? You're a servant. You've been faithful. You've been faithful, brother. That's all I can say. All right. Yeah, we want to talk about morality. What's your best way to define that, if you was going to define it?
Morality in of itself?
Yeah.
I would say a standard of good.
Okay. All right. A standard.
A universal standard of good.
Universal there. You're removing any type of opinions.
Yes.
Okay.
Removing subjectivity.
Okay. So that's good. So then we have we at least have a definition, a universal standard of good. Mm-hmm. So who gets to own that? Who gets to be the author.
So, but let's make sure let's dive into that aspect also. Like the question is, who owns morality? Let's understand, for you that are listening, what we're asking is, who has the right to define that? Who has the right to own, by saying if it's yay or nay to morality, the standard of good?
Okay.
Okay. So when you ask the question then, or when we pitch the question, who owns morality, right?
Basically, who I mean, I don't want to say founded or who authored it, but like, I'm the one who dictates.
The author of it, who supersedes everybody to have the final, statement to say that's moral, that's not moral.
I was going to say
immoral.
Who gets to enforce it, but you can have somebody enforce.
Yeah, without having to be the author.
Yeah.
That's what government is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The branch of government.
Yes. Agreed. So that is correct. Who authors it? Who supersedes everyone and says, this is the standard and I came up with this. Boom. Who is that?
Because,
or what is that?
Here's the thing. If you just stay with me, we can go back and forth on some of this.
Okay.
I believe it's troubling for people to have to commit to the authority of morality, meaning point out who has the authority over morality, because the extension to that is then that person then has the right to judge those outside the law, outside the standard of morality. And I believe many people are more concerned about that. They will forsake defining it for the sake of not having to be committed to that realization.
Okay.
Because of the judgment, you'd have to then understand, if there is an author of morality, then that author also owns the punishment of those outside morality.
Okay.
I mean, would you agree, y'all? I mean, that kind of sounds logically,
So they don't want a universal standard of morality.
Correct. They don't want to admit that there's an author, that there's they'll admit that there is a good.
Yeah. Okay.
A good that is good for them, right? But a universal good where it removes subjectivity, it removes anybody's opinion of it. It just is. They don't want to commit to that, because then you're obligated to follow through that line of reasoning to say there is then the consequences of not following that moral code.
Okay. All right.
Y'all with us? I don't want to. We don't want to bore you with getting into this philosophical, but it is going to require us to exercise a little mental sweat to really work through these things and begin to really take time to question the existence of God, because that's also a part of understanding morality. Does God exist? Do we have the right to acknowledge God exists? Or should we allow ourselves the freedom to just agree that there is a good, but, it's your good versus my good?
Okay. So great point. I understand your point. I don't know if I agree with that yet, but I do understand your point that some people don't want an author of morality, because by having that, you would have to then agree then whatever this person defines as judgment for not following the standard, you would have to agree with.
Subject to that as well.
And you have to recognize that. Okay. Like I said, great point on the floor right now. I have a question. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Answering a question with a question. That's logically sound.
Of course. Does morality have to be objective? I know you keep saying, I know you use your term, which is good, that morality is a universal or an objective standard of good. But, I guess for me, it's like, does it have to be objective? Does it have to be a removal of something that can be evolving and ever changing? What makes it have to be an author versus authors?
Yeah. Wait, there's two questions on the floor.
No, say.
Oh, you're saying authors like that one person can have one, another person can have one.
Constitution, baby. Yeah. Like we changed that. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, you threw that word in there that doesn't line up with the. Okay, I'm gonna let you rock with it.
It's a standard.
No, I'm with you. I'm gonna let you rock with it.
Okay.
So my question, now.
I know. Go. We got
a question of clarity. A question of clarity.
Let's go.
A question of clarity.
I got him. What are we? 10 minutes into the live. Let's go.
Never that.
Got him already backpedaling
Never that.
off his own logic.
question.
Off his own logic.
Question of clarity.
That's great logic. Yeah, that's good. That's sound. All right, let me ask you a question.
On the question to the original question.
Let's go. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be great.
Okay. I would answer this question like this. If I were going to maintain a standard and the standard to be fair, then it has to be consistent. It has to then be a standard that's consistent across all boards, across all instances, and all existences. And so I would have to say there would have to be one author. And the morality cannot evolve into somebody else's terminology of morality.
Okay, that's cool. Does it have to be objective, or does it have to be something that can't evolve?
No, it cannot evolve.
It cannot evolve.
As when the objectivity is outside the opinions of others, it's so for some of you that may be watching, objectivity simply means no matter what the opinions of others are, it is what it is. Subjectivity is my opinion versus your opinion is subjectivity. It's subject to my opinion just as much as it's subject to Jack's opinion and coming to a conclusion of what something is. And people allow that to exist. And for not continuity, but in some instances, subjectivity is okay. It's a means of being negotiable and, flexible and so on. But then when it comes to higher purposes and higher reasoning, you have to have objectivity, meaning it cannot be based off of one person's opinion and subject to another person's opinion to evolve into another person's opinion, because then therefore that standard is that subject to, or that objectivity is removed, because now it's subject to somebody else's opinion or thought process. So therefore I say objective moral truth cannot evolve. It has to be.
Okay. No, I
yes.
Chris earlier when I was going back to work, he said, "Oh no, it's tennis."
U.S. Open's happening. It's happening right around now, so that's good. Chris threw my mind off. I was gonna say something. Oh no. Oh, I just want to say that no, I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a good truth to live in, man, and you should live in that truth. I think that's good.
But you're not responding to my answer. You're just saying that's good for you, which then still holds to your thought that it can be subjective.
Yeah, I think that what you presented, that was that's like a good thing, man. Trying to get somebody to have a standard, and I think you should live in that truth.
Again, you're
What?
y'all have to listen, pay attention. He's being advocate to
I think you can live in this truth. Don't you agree?
I can live in this truth.
Yeah.
That's a true statement.
Yeah.
That's not what's on the floor. The floor has the question, who owns morality?
That's the original question.
That's the original
Yeah.
question that we're constantly going to keep working towards.
Correct.
So what has broken off is the idea or the thought process by your statement, not question or logic. Your statement is, it's good for me having my position on moral standard of truth.
Of an objective morality. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's good for me. If you're saying that it's good for me, a moral objective truth, you're agreeing then that I'm upholding an objective truth and not a subjective truth,
Yeah.
not a subjective opinion.
Yeah. For me, the truth that I live in is that these things are relative at sometimes. Like there are times where like that does work for you and it's good for you.
Okay.
But there are other times where things are good for me. And
So let me ask you something.
yes, sir.
At any time in the face of humanity, has anybody ever thought rape was good? Have you ever seen a document, a book of antiquity or current time that rape had always been penned as good?
I haven't seen anything. No. That would say that rape is good.
So then would you say objectively then, universally, people believe rape is wrong?
Yes.
Well, then that's an objective truth.
Okay. I didn't say that you couldn't have an objective truth. I'm just saying that not every good, like, let me ask you this question.
That's not what you said earlier. However, you're splintering
No,
the good. We're talking about
So-
morality.
no, you asked your
First talking
question.
about morality.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you gave us a definition. The
Yes.
definition of morality on the floor to everyone is a universal standard of good.
Correct.
All right. Got that. From there, we leave the question in the chat of who owns morality or who is
Correct.
the author of morality.
Correct.
I then ask, why does it have to be objective? Can't these things
Correct. Can
evolve?
they evolve?
You then say, you asked me the question about rape.
hmm
And I state that no, I haven't seen nobody that I know thinks that it is good.
hmm
All right. What I'm saying is that isn't the only form of good, though. Wouldn't you agree to that?
I totally agree, but we're not here to talk about the individual virtues of good. We're just saying good itself. Morality is the tenor of all of the good or all of the virtues. The tenor meaning it is the meaning of the virtue of love, the virtue of kindness, the virtue of justice, the virtue of sympathy, the virtue of compassion. That is the virtues, and the tenor of all those, the meaning of all those boils down to a moral standard. We understand that these moral standards are objectively true for everyone. Therefore, somebody owns the authority to say that is good and that is bad or that is wrong.
Let's say I agree with that, right?
Yep. I hope y'all are following the lot. Follow the conversation because, again, we're addressing who holds the authority or who owns the authority of moral good or morality.
Right. So let's say I did agree with that.
Okay.
Okay. Because
Yep.
there's two things I want to say. The first thing I would say is that, okay, I understand that piece. I still don't think that me saying in objective good means that objectively we have to have morality. I can still feel as though stealing can or can't be wrong. And that's a form of good. All because
saying that you can or cannot what?
you can have one thing objectively. I can say like murder is wrong. And I don't
Okay.
know anybody who knows murder is wrong. Somebody could say, well, Hitler may think it's right. So
I did think it was right.
so what I'm saying is your statement originally was, do you know anybody who thinks rape is wrong? I said, no. But if you was asking me, do you know anybody who thinks murder is wrong? And I would say, or thinks that it's right. And I would say, yeah, Hitler does. Does it make it right because I know nobody who...
And that's what we're after. Like, we know just because somebody says, and you could have answered, oh yeah, there was somebody who
I didn't know nobody. I didn't want to...
That's okay. But what I'm saying is you could say somebody thinks rape is good, but everybody knows that it is not, that this person, there's something wrong with their thinking. There's something wrong with their outlook on life. There's something wrong with their perspective of humanity because they're believing that rape is okay.
I see what you're doing, Pastor. You're using explicit things that maybe we all can agree on, right? So let's get to some gray. All right. Let's get to some gray.
Let's go to the gray.
Is stealing wrong?
Is stealing wrong?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you would say that stealing. Now, if we was to say that universally, would we think then somebody who says like, no, stealing isn't wrong, will we think that there's something insane about that person? I would say not necessarily. Why did they steal? Maybe they're in a government or a society where they're taxing people crazy. They're not allowing them to make certain wages.
That's not stealing.
If they didn't pay for it and they go and they take it because they don't got enough wages for it to survive, stealing.
Wait, say your scenario all over again.
Government put a huge price on food.
Okay.
Or not the government,
Okay.
maybe just the people price
Yeah.
gouging.
Yeah.
The wages aren't enough though to
And is this an act of law?
an act of law that the
That-
pricing is the way it is.
Yeah, the tax, you said taxation?
Just the just the pricing. Like they have a free market
Yep.
and bananas are $7.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Their wages is only $3. That's the minimum wage, or the
Okay.
case may be. They gotta take care
I'm gonna
of
throw another one at him, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm saying, is it stealing that after they took care of their responsibilities, they work, they need to take care of it. They go and they take the food and they don't pay for it.
So
Is it
here's
stealing.
yes.
Is it wrong?
Is it wrong for them to steal?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're okay.
So now let's use another scenario.
Let's use another
a
scenario.
same gray matter.
Same gray.
During the Holocaust.
Yeah, I was building.
During the Holocaust,
I was gonna go to
there are
line.
many sympathizers to the Jews, okay, who would hide the Jews in their homes and secret passageways and everything.
Mhm.
When the Germans came to ask them, were they hiding Jews? They would say no. Is that a lie?
Yeah.
Yes. We would agree that's a lie, right?
Is it
So
wrong?
now the
Were they
tenor,
wrong?
hold on, the tenor to that, the meaning behind that has to be weighed into understanding the objective truth you're trying to uphold. If the law that exists in the land is ultimately wrong, but they decree it as what you need to do and you go against it, what is the higher law at that moment? What should somebody consider as the higher law? I'm going to lie to the government who wants to kill innocent people and hide them, and I'm going to lie to them. Am I going to be held accountable to the higher authority who owns the morality of telling the truth that I lied because I was saving lives? What's the higher law now at that time?
I think that's a good question. And once we figure out who owns morality, we can answer that.
Okay, so, but you got the gray matter?
Chris says,
I got the gray matter.
Huh?
Chris says the moral law.
The
moral law.
Right, which gets back to that point.
And we're working up to that, Chris.
Yes.
He's trying to cook. I'm gonna let him simmer for a minute, but then what I'm gonna do is bake this cat.
You're gonna bait me. Thank you
Bake.
for telling. Oh,
Bake.
I thought you said bait. I was like, thank you for telling me you're gonna
I'm
bait
gonna
me.
bake you.
Okay, so great, good answer. My second piece is, let's say that there is this author. Let's say that this person should be building up to it. It would seem to make sense that it would be society. It would be humanity that gets to determine at that time whether or not stealing that banana was wrong. It should be the people who are living in that society, living in that community. To me, it would make sense then they would be that dictator of morality.
Who's determining that's wrong for what the government is doing?
Yeah, and I think it needs to be the people. Like, I think it needs to be people.
But then what are they using to measure that what the government is doing is wrong? Where are they getting that fact from?
I think they're looking at, I think things evolve. They're looking at the way that humans evolve. They're looking at the fact that, like, hey, we learned that, you know what, this actually isn't, we thought this was right, but it isn't right. Look at what it's doing to people overall. And you need study sometimes to get to that answer.
So if we understand that, yeah.
Chris says segregation is imperfect example, but close.
Yes. You're right in the gray matter with us, Chris. You are exactly right.
And I think that's, oh, go ahead.
So
I think that's a great point.
how come we don't look at and this is, I'm being realistic here.
Okay.
How come we don't look at the animal kingdom? And if I were to look at my neighbor's dog, right?
Okay.
And my neighbor's dog goes across the street and takes the other dog's bone and runs to his yard. How come how come there's no crime there? And that's not really considered stealing. It's just animals just taking each other's stuff. How come that's not like a moral code?
Because it's not written down by people to enforce it. If somebody wrote down and enforced it, they would be.
Nobody is going to look at that as thievery. Nobody in this world, nobody in any world is going to look at an animal taking another animal's bone as if it's wrong. Just like they're not going to look at a baboon who goes in the jungle and takes another ape and rapes it per se, or copulates with it and says that was rape. They're not going to. Because there's nothing that you have,
or a lion murdering a,
yes,
you wouldn't call that murder.
So what is it then that you have that will make you see the distinctions of the animal kingdom and us to say that's not rape, lying, or murdering or stealing, but when we do it, it is? Who gave you that? Who's given you that authority to decide on that?
Well, I'm glad that you brought this up, Steve. I think first
Steve,
Pastor, I think first off, when you're addressing animals versus human beings, I think that we come to know that human beings are more intelligent than
come to know.
Yeah, that we are rational animals. But we have rationale. So we understand that we don't have animals operating on human beings. We recognize and have studied humanity is a unique species that we've not seen throughout the face of this planet.
But you're not answering the question.
I'm getting to the point because you're saying, why don't I look at because of how we've come to know the human, like Homo sapien, like the way that we've come to know how they think, how they process things is why we would look at a dog and say, oh, dog doesn't do things like a human being does. So we wouldn't put the morality of a dog as the same morality of a human being. They still put down dogs for biting certain people. They don't say, oh, let's give it a pass. That's just what dogs do. So there's still things that we do to animals when they do certain things. But in terms of why do we look at the animal kingdom and say, oh, that's allowed in there versus the human being, is because of how unique we are.
So so you're saying to me then, again, based on that information that they have as animal and human, they have the authority to determine what is moral and what is morally right and what is morally wrong. Just off of those things, just off of those experiences.
Yes, and I would say this, going back to my beginning argument point, that's why I always advocate for authors. So I think that, certain people get to input, they're experts in their field. They get to input things, like philosophers get to input certain things on morality. Psychologists gets to enforce things from morality and say, like, hey, back in these times, this was okay to do, but look at how it's impacting our communities now. We shouldn't do that. So I think that it evolves.
That's never on the authority of evolve. Let's play a little game. Let's play a little game.
I'm not really into games.
Yeah, you are. You definitely are.
I'm not really into games.
Yeah. Macro and micro evolution.
Chris.
Let's deal with that first.
Okay.
He says 1963 Birmingham, Alabama, or Jackson, Mississippi. Then he says dogs don't have a judicial system.
Okay, but
agree. And
yeah, he's with you.
Yeah,
he's with you.
Thank you.
But macro evolution and micro evolution. Okay.
Okay.
So we know that things evolve, right, at a micro level.
Okay.
But we do know we have no evidence of macro evolution.
Okay.
None of that. So just because you're using the word evolution in a micro philosophical element, the macro evolution of morality is still, you're not giving me who owns the authority. Like, how do you come to the conclusion of having the authority of determining things on a macro level that this is emphatically right, this is emphatically wrong, objectively?
Well, see, now you're throwing things in there.
And I'm not throwing things in there.
I'm going to tell you how. I've always stated from the beginning, why does it need to be objective?
And what did I say?
And that's why I told you to live in your truth. I'm okay with you living in your truth. My truth isn't having an objective standard.
But then you have no standard. You have no standard.
And that's offensive, because I can still do good. And you're telling me I don't have a standard.
I didn't say you couldn't do good. I didn't say.
I'm just saying that's very. And
maybe
that's the thing about Christians.
Maybe that's how you interpret it. That's
but
okay.
But that's the thing about Christians.
Again, you're
the moment that I don't agree with your philosophy.
You can have yours. You're just not answering the question.
No, I did.
You didn't.
You said, who is my author of
morality?
And I say I have authors, and I think it's humanity.
So then there is no standard.
That is the standard. And yeah, like the people there, the philosopher, the psychologist, they get to do that. The lawyer who puts things in, they get to determine morality.
And where are they getting their information from to decide this?
They're looking at society, the way that society is working with things. At one point,
that has never helped society.
At one point in time, segregation was a thing. We come to know, like, yo, this isn't right. And now we arrived at the point we've outlawed that. We put in laws that we're not for that. And so that's where we're at now. We know that it's good. We know that it's not good to do that.
Again.
So
why is it that?
So I just want to answer you though.
Yes.
You do know that I have a form of morality.
You say that there are things that are good. And I said, and I gave you that. You can have things that are good.
All right.
I didn't disagree there.
Okay.
But you're still not answering in the degree of the authority to own that good. Just because you saying it, right? Just because you're saying, I own the good. You could say that. I can give you that. But is that actually an absolute truth? Is that an absolute standard? Is that an absolute?
I don't agree to an absolute truth.
Okay.
And I've been telling you that I don't agree to an absolute truth. I don't agree to an objective standard, but I do have morality. Are you saying because I don't agree to an objective truth or an absolute truth that I can't have morality?
You can definitely have morality.
Okay.
You definitely can have
Okay.
morality. So now let's go a little bit further, people.
There we
This is
go.
where we want to go.
Chat, let me know. Let me know because I'm cooking.
No,
I'm cooking right now.
Like I said,
I'm cooking.
I'm letting them
I'm
simmer
cooking.
because I'm gonna bake them in a minute.
I'm cooking.
Go ahead.
Chris says moral relativism.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful. It's a slippery slope.
So he's simmering. He's simmering, Chris. Give me a minute. I'm turning. My oven is preheating.
Chris, that and that's how I feel like you can live in that truth. That it is a slippery slope for you. I'm okay with that for you.
So is there meaning behind morality?
Is there meaning behind
The
morality?
meaning of life behind morality.
Yeah. No, okay. Slow down so I can speed up. Is there meaning of life?
No. Is there meaning to life with morality?
Is there meaning to life?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that? Is there meaning to life?
Because there's got to be a meaning to life. Well, in my objective truths,
Okay.
there is standards that bring meaning to life.
Okay.
If there is no objective truths and that relative feelings or relative beliefs, you're just saying it can evolve based on how we feel or what we think. So where is the meaning of life behind all of that?
Okay. Piece that together. I just still trying to figure out meaning of life. Are you
Existence,
talking about
meaning of existence.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So for me, I don't see having a moral relativism viewpoint. I don't see where that removes the existence of humanity. I'm operating off of utilizing experts.
Existence of humanity. I didn't ask about the existence of humanity.
That's what I was asking about.
the
meaning
of life. What's like as I live?
What's the purpose of me living?
Yeah, what am I doing with my life?
Absolutely.
Like, is it attached to the morality of life? Is it attached to morality?
Yes, we don't harm people because we see what it has done to other people. I don't steal because I see how I feel when something gets stolen. I don't go out and murder somebody because I know what it will do to me or my family.
Mhm.
So hold on.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the purpose of life, I think that the things that we've come up to, that we've listened to, the majority of these top scholars and experts, it allows our communities to flourish and thrive because we're seeing the impacts of what it's doing to society. And then we're saying,
and
that's how we determine.
And that's determination. That's the determination, the cause and effect.
Yeah, but we have experts in the field to make sure that we understand like how to go about putting it in laws, how to go about putting it in books so that we can read.
We've always had experts who decided that there is an absolute truth. We've always had experts who agree that there has to be an objective moral standard.
We have experts about absolute truth
of supporting absolute truth.
Ooh,
just like
I don't know about that one.
What do you mean?
I don't know who those experts are.
That support objective truths, that have taught on the importance of and the authority of an absolute truth.
And when you provide those to me, I would tell you that it's good for them to live in that truth.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you that it's good to live in those truths.
Good.
I think it's more beneficial for us to understand that there is good that we can do for society and for humanity. And
are y'all with him? Are y'all following us? You see what we're doing here, right?
This whole point of needing an author, I think, misses the entire point of us being able to do good. We can do good.
Nobody is stopping you from doing
I know,
good.
I just need to talk. Why are you cutting me off? I let
because
you rock.
because you're informed. You're as if
Jeez,
saying
mute your mic.
as if saying that having good proves the authority. I'm not here to say that somebody cannot be good. That's not what I'm saying. Just because they're doing good, that doesn't prove the authority from where it comes from. That's all I'm saying is we have to recognize there has to be an author or there has to be a higher authority that has claims to the absolute truths of good, the moral objective truths. All because somebody can do good, I'm not taking away from that.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean they've proven that society determines moral.
I just don't know why that can't be an authority. Like I was asked the question.
It helps with it,
and I provided my answer that the authority of morality is society.
Well, you've just given microevolutional position of morality in regards to man. Like when I say micro, it's yes, there are authorities who will enforce it. There will be authorities who speak out. There'll be authorities who continue to, talk about it and push it. But that doesn't mean they have the authority. So again, we all have to understand, where does this come from? Where is it that we find the standard to say what is good and what is wrong? Herd mentality does not prove that's an authority. Herd mentality just all agrees that is good. So therefore, where did that good come from? That's an abstract that you can't just say came into existence on its own, and through material experiences, we can say to ourselves, oh, we're the author of the good.
Can I say one more thing, and then I'll let you cook these last 15 minutes or so? Is that all right? If I can say one more thing?
One more thing.
What Chris says is that are there absolutes, absolutely, or absolutely not?
Chris, I won't answer that.
That's like saying there's no such thing as truth, which is an absolute truth.
Maybe you should ask me that, because here's my question for you.
No, okay, go ahead.
Here's my statement to you. I feel like we're going in a circle, because I've laid out my morality being subjective and being relative, and you want to keep leading me to this objective.
I'm not leading
moral.
You. I ask you to just defend the position of
I have
authority. No,
you just don't like the answer, but I have.
No, you haven't. What you've done is you've given me.
I said who my authority was.
Yeah, you've given me.
Who's my authority? I said,
man, you.
So that I gave you an answer to your question.
Yes.
So it seems like what you are trying to do, or it seems like
I am doing
of what you want to do,
and I will do it,
is to state that I cannot have a standard of morality if it's subjective. And I don't agree to that. And maybe you can convince me of that, and then maybe I can get to this author. But until you can convince me of why my subjective moral relativism, I can't have a standard of morality with that, I can never see why I need an author.
And I'm with you. So just like in any conversation, which I've laid out, an individual has to be willing to hear the logic that it possesses.
Okay.
So a lot of people like to have a conversation. They will listen emotionally, right? Volitionally, or rationally.
Okay.
Right now, all I'm hearing is a bunch of volitional and emotional statements coming from you. I don't hear rational.
State.
I'm just saying.
Okay. If I don't agree with you, then it's volitional.
No, it's not about.
Because that's what I'm hearing.
Chris said Jack is a Harvard lawyer.
Man,
I can't be volitional.
You left it over there.
I can't be rational unless I agree with what you're saying. But okay, lay out.
And this is what I love about people who like to have conversations with Christians. They want to point out as if just because I lay down a strong argument, now I'm harassing them. I'm harassing them by saying, oh, I see what you're doing. Just because you don't like what I'm saying, I see what you're doing. No, I don't care. I'm fine with you saying what you're saying.
So you agree that I can do good, but you say that I cannot have a standard of morality if it's subjective or relative.
You can say that there's a spaghetti monster out there that gave you this information. You have to be able to logically break that down.
So once again, I'm gonna ask you this question. You believe that I can do good without an author, like without believing in an author.
Absolutely.
I can do good, but you're saying I can't have a standard of morality if it's subjective or relative.
What I'm saying is you cannot enforce a standard that is subjective. You can't. You can imply it, and you can maybe, generate energy for it, but that doesn't prove that creates the authority of an absolute truth or an objective truth. So all I'm saying is first start with I believe everybody can do good, no matter what. Right. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what background they come from. I don't care what they believe in. Everybody can do good. The Bible shows us that. In Romans, it's written in the hearts of men to have a conscience, to understand good and bad. Now, from there, our next step, our original question is, who owns the authority to hold the moral objective truths? Who is the one that defines what is good and what is bad? All because my mind can exercise and thinking about other goods and evolve and saying that's bad because of my experience, so I'm going to do this, which is good, that doesn't mean I hold the authority to claim and define what is good and bad. So I got those points clear. I totally understand that. What I'm proving is that you have to be able to have somebody outside of time, space, and matter that can to sustain the credibility of an objective truth across all platforms and across all of existence to make it just. How can it be just if you on one side of the world can say it's good and another person on the other side of the world can say it's bad just because of different experiences? That doesn't make an absolute. It can't.
No, I know that it can't.
And it can't be just.
So it can't be just if it's subjective.
It cannot be just if it's subjective.
Okay, and it can't be just if it's relative. What about rational or logical? Can it be
I
any
can
of those
still
things?
be rational.
No. Is it rational to have a morality that says, I can change tomorrow? and feel as
Absolutely
though-
not. That's not rational.
Okay.
So again, you have to approach, I will give everybody, you as an individual having a conversation with another individual, I have to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're always looking at trying to move in a good way. But that doesn't change the fact of wanting to have rational information that brings a conclusion up to the point of what we've asked that's on the table. I want to say that it's impossible to have a moral standard and be relative in my mindset. I can't. You just can't. It will never be just. It will not be just. The only way justice the only way justice actually impacts people's lives is when you uphold it in the face of regardless of anything that anybody says, because you understand it's just and it's fair. It's true.
Okay. So let's say we agree to all of that. Why does it have to be God? Go ahead.
Chris says you can, but it can't take you where you might have a whole lot of time to think about it. And then he says, Jack is arguing for volition, human will.
Exactly. That's what I said, Chris. I said he came from emotional and volitional, just willing his way through the whole argument, which is great. I love it. Back to the question.
Question at hand. Okay.
Why does it have to be God?
Yeah. Why does it have to be
Because-
God? Because you asked me who's the author.
Yeah.
Why does it have
Because
to be God? Or the God of your Bible?
let's just not even. I'm going to close the book.
Cool.
Okay. Let's
Yeah,
close the
That
Bible.
thing off the table.
No, we're not taking it off the table. We're not going to be disrespectful like that. We're going to just close the book. We're just talking about an existing being outside of time, space, and matter.
Okay.
The only one that fits that description is God. There's no other description. So therefore, if the person doesn't like the term God, I can't help them with that. But that is the only term that fits the being outside of time, space, matter is God because of his attributes. He's eternal. He's omniscient, omnipresent. He's immortal would be the same as being,
But why does he have to be outside of time? Or why does he have to be outside of
well, that's
space?
just
No, I'm saying
you can't have time.
In order for this, if you're saying like in order for this person to be or this being to be the author of morality, you have to be outside of time and space.
Because
I'm
then
saying-
his influence would be God's influence is of himself. He does not need time, space, and matter to be who he is. He
Okay.
doesn't need any of that. We need time, space, and matter to live in the existence of human beings. We need that.
Okay.
Therefore, outside of time, space, and matter controls the authority of what is good and right for humanity, his creation. Now, being a creator, he wanted the best for his creation, which he gave them, and he stamped it onto the conscious of their mind, the revelation of what is good, what is right. Now, through that revelation of what is good and what is right, they should have conducted themselves accordingly, which man do not. That doesn't take away the fact there's an objective truth of good and right. And therefore, it has to be God. Again, we're not talking about the God of the Bible right now. We're just talking about the being God. Now, if somebody comes to a logical conclusion, there is a God, now we can start having a conversation of the literature, the information, and all the other data that exists that would help us find our way to the true and living God and who he is and how he has manifested himself, which is Jesus Christ. So get saved. You need Jesus.
I hear you. Anything on Facebook? Nothing. Okay. Okay. I think I'm done with devil's advocate so far. I think I'm good. I think if you go back to your original statement in the beginning, which is why I wanted to get away from that statement, which was a lot of people don't want an absolute truth or truths to exist. They don't want an objective truth to exist because then they have to be held responsible to the author of,
The
whoever-
morality.
the morality. And so when you can find authors or where you can make it be an evolving thing, then it's good for you because it's like, all right, I can keep changing my mind, or I can make it be, the subject, right? Subjective is whoever the subject is, right? So I can keep changing that. But the moment somebody says, no, here's the standard, here's how we have to govern this, you're like, I don't like it. I mean, we even do it today. We'll see an injustice happen. We want them held to the highest form of the law. This is the statement that comes out of people's mouths, not me. Try them to the highest form of the law. Some people want death penalty, some don't, but they say try them to the highest form of the law. And then when we talk about bringing that into religious matters or things like that, then it's like, well, why do you get the right to do that? It's time out. Why does the government get the right to, and why are you okay with an injustice, something wrong, judgment needs to occur or justice needs to happen?
Yep. You see the attachment. You see the attachment of the standard and the judgment against the standard.
And so, I think that the toughest thing in moral relativism is you end up contradicting yourself. So when you say things like live in your own truth, and Steve will say, is that true for you? Or is that true for you? Is that true for everybody? And you say, yeah, that's true for everybody. And then you'll say, so that's an absolute truth. Right. So then you believe in absolute truths. So you believe that independent of somebody's feelings, something is right or wrong. Cool. Then you got to believe in God. And then they're like, whoa, hold on, wait, what do you mean? No, I don't. I can believe in absolute truths. And because now you have to say then who, as you started to allude to, who governs that, who does that? And you just told me that you believe in absolute truth. So how do you then go back to anything relative or anything subjective? The moment, who's that?
The Buckcast.
Okay. The moment you can concede to an absolute truth, which everybody does, which is the good question about like rape. Nobody says that. Now you can get somebody who can say like, well, the raper may feel like it's okay. Then you can still utilize that and say, okay, so then you can't use humanity then to decide who determines morality then, because this guy is okay. Yeah, he's humanity. He says okay.
Part of humanity.
So we can't use humanity for that. Then you have to use something that says independent of what humanity thinks, independent, and it only makes sense that this thing exists outside of time, space, and matter, because this being then creates all these things and knows how all these things work into play. God knows already about humanity. So I think that anytime you can get somebody to admit that there are objective truths or even absolute truths, and you can do that very easily, then that's it. Everything else just starts to dwindle from there. Nobody wants that responsibility, and it's just easier to say like we evolved. And once you start naming who you feel as though the authors are outside of God, like a lot of times people think like saying God is like the worst thing. Like, oh man, you got to prove all these things. You still have to prove your standard. So if you say government, then it's simple. So slavery was right or wrong?
Well, one of the things that you pointed out too is like, even through the process of evolution, or, using evolution as a process of we've evolved into understanding that was bad, so we don't do it anymore. But then what was the standard that made you see the difference between slavery was wrong or slavery was right then, but slavery is wrong now? What was the standard that you used? And that's what I was trying to point you to, that you kept deflecting, saying it was me enforcing my will on you. I get it. But he was not answering my question. How did you come to that conclusion? What was the tool that you used to determine that was wrong before, or that was right before, and now it's wrong? You still came to a conclusion that comes from a standard. Where'd you get that standard from?
Well, they would say though that the standard is I seen the way that it impacted you over the course of time, so now we know it was wrong.
But somebody else could have argued by saying, I've seen the standard of the U.S. economy was growing because cotton was selling like off the shelves across the seas and everything. So the economy was booming. So that was good.
I think
You see what I'm saying? Like that argument then would have to be flipped on there. So again, there's this problem with saying that morality is, it can be subjective. It can't be subjective. There has to be an absolute truth to the standard of morality and who holds the authority of morality. It has to be a being outside of time, space, matter. And the only one that fits that description of outside of time, space, matter is who? God. That's it.
I agree. I think also people need to be able to see that their system fails by allowing them to walk through it. So going back to that same example, okay, yeah, we seen the way that it impacted people and it evolved. Like you said, some people may think like, no, it was good. We should keep it that way. But that system, you saw that evolved. It failed though.
Mhm.
You would have to agree that the system failed. What do you mean? We got it wrong. So if you got it wrong back then, it failed.
Mhm.
So if it failed then, why wouldn't it fail again and again? What did you fix? Because if you say it just has to keep evolving, that's a failed system.
Because you keep evolving it.
Because you
It's
keep
not
having
perfect.
to change it. It's
Yeah.
not and so that's why I think people want to argue against the morality that is this like absolute truth, that is this like sound thing, because once you start going to different authors, you have a failed, flawed system.
You got anything out there?
Chris says this was like Hagler and Hearns. Awesome. So the winner was a listener. Thanks, guys.
No, yeah, I think that I just was trying as best as I could to argue from some pure-hearted people who really believe that morality there doesn't have to be this standard that says yes or no, or they'll say like, come on, everybody knows these things are right or wrong, and then they don't get to who the author is by saying everybody knows. And that's why you ask those questions. Who did Hitler know? Who know? Did Mother Teresa may have known, but why didn't Hitler get to the same point? And why didn't so once you get there, eventually you have to see that humanity differs on things, but you need to get to the actual author of this. And I think it's important that it does need to be something that somebody who exists outside of time, then you can argue from there better. But yeah, once you have one absolute truth, one objective standard, then everything else flows from there. Anything else? I think it's a great topic, because one thing that you can always find a way to eventually talk about God through is morality. I mean, we're not going to talk about that this week or whatever, but think about politics. What are they trying to enforce ultimately? Moral things.
Mhm.
This country in many different ways talks about moral things at your job, everything. I don't think that they should do this. Anytime you're using the word should, there's a right and wrong. So
Just said something.
she said very good. So for us, this is why the moral argument is very important. This is why talking about who the author of morality is important, is because it's literally in every conversation, mostly throughout a daily conversation. If you just listen to somebody say, we shouldn't be doing this. Look at the way that they're treating people
That's a standard
at the
It's
border.
morality.
Okay, why? Who enforces? As you continue to probe the question or the person you're having conversation with, you eventually can lead them to seeing it may not be the God of the Bible right there, but a higher being who exists outside of time, space, and matter. So that's why I think this topic is important. You have anything else you want to share?
I just want to say this too. Like when you get into discussions like this, it's okay for somebody to not come to the conclusion that Jesus is Lord. If they can come to the conclusion that there is a God, that's the ship is sailing. We're moving in the right direction. Eventually, if you get somebody to come from a place of not believing that there's an existence of God to that there is an existence of God, there's been already a huge major world view shift in their brain. For them to come to that conclusion, just keep having conversations with them. Eventually, as you talk and converse, you'll hopefully be able to, over time, now you'll be able to start opening up this. Hey, by the way, I was reading this the other day. What do you think about this? Now you got them open up the Bible with you. Now you're reading the Bible with them. Eventually, it's going to come to the conclusion they realize Jesus Christ is Lord. But it's okay for, like when I said, hey, I'm going to just close the book, Jack. All right, fine. Let's just forget about the Jesus, the God of the Bible. Let's just say the existence of a being outside of time, space, matter. The only one that fits that description is quote unquote God. I didn't say Jesus at the time, just God for right now. Let's get to that point. Next point is helping somebody come to that from that side of the bridge to the next side of the bridge and claiming that Jesus Christ is the true and living God. So,
amen. So if you're watching, make sure that you like this video, whatever platform you're on, like the video, share the video, and go over to the Righteous Unity YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, feel free to please hit us up and we can discuss those questions on one of these live discussion Real Talk episodes. So we've done that before a couple times. So if you ever feel like, here's a question, here's a verse I want to talk about, just you have each one of our platforms here that you're watching from. You can send us a message and we'll work on addressing those topics. So we'll see you back next Tuesday, 7:45 p.m. God bless.
God bless y'all.